I think the poet or the filmmaker or the musician, the poet must not avert his eyes. You must not avert your eyes. This is what is coming at us.
Podcast that just can't decide who the hottest mummy was. Sofia Boutella, Arnold Vosloo, Sir Christopher Lee, or Boris Karloff. You know what I'm talking about.
No consensus.
My vote's with Lee.
Yeah, it is. We are joined in our excavation. Oh, sorry.
I'm Paul
Salt. I'm
Paul Goodman. Thanks.
Forgets their own format.
I like to fucking spring it on you every now and then. I'm Paul Salt. What? And today, we shall be joined in our excavations by Baby Beard Media. Bearders, please introduce yourselves.
Also, we're a three-peat. So do you put that in the little jingle? 3 in the bag.
Oh my god!
Holy shit!
You are. You're three-man now.
You're
the first three-man.
Christ.
You're the first physical three-man.
Oh, free to a man, free in the bush, free.
Your podcasts are good, mate.
Hello, everybody. I am Sean.
I'm Phil.
And we are 2/5 of Baby Beard. I don't know how it works anymore.
It keeps changing.
We run 2 podcasts currently. One is Shut Up and Take My Podcast, a Futurama podcast that pits episode against episode in bloody glorious gauntlet battle for your entertainment and to prove that Jurassic Park is not the best.
And Imaginauts, Imaginauts, a comedy show about useless information taking place aboard a fantastical starship.
You're going to slag off Jurassic Park in that one as well?
If you'd like.
just to really get the point home.
There's actually a whole episode dedicated to slagging it off, yeah.
Excellent. Well, today we shall be having a good old root around in the remains of a once great set of intellectual properties that a crazed dictator built a gaudy palace on top of. Did I just compare mummy director Alex Kurtzman to war criminal Saddam Hussein? No?
Maybe, if you agree with me. Yes. I'm joking if you disagree with me.
Legally speaking, no.
I can tell from your silence that I was joking.
Welcome to a new world of gods and monsters.
The Mummy!
Yeah.
The first non-Brendan Fraser starring mummy film of the century, the first film directed by mostly terrible screenwriter Alex Kurtzman, apart from that other one, and the intended first film in a planned and probably scrapped Dark Universe franchise, if you don't count Dracula Untold, which no one did.
Luke Evans doesn't.
No one had even heard of it. Even Luke Evans.
Luke who? Said Luke Evans. That's not how... What are you denying?
Dracula what?
Sounds like a loser. Sounds like a real dick. I wouldn't trust him.
The Dark Universe was to be a shared series of films featuring all the classic Universal monsters, like Creeper, Paula the Ape Woman, and Abbott and Costello. I didn't make any of those up. But The Mummy was wrapped up in negative reviews from critics.
Oh,
that's the first.
I missed that.
Was nominated for 8 gold
awards.
Because of the Greek god awards. Greek god? I don't know what the fuck's happening. It was nominated for 8 Golden Raspberries, and most importantly, only importantly, it lost around 95 million at the box office.
I think it's also important to mention they won one of those Razzies.
Did they win one of them?
Yes.
Which one did they win?
Worst actor went to Tom Cruise, ladies and gentlemen.
Good lord. What a bunch of shit.
Maybe it was just like Tom Cruise's time, like Gary Oldman with Darkest Hour. He's like, he had it coming.
This is actually for Oblivion, right? I know. That's him at the ceremony. Like, that happened. Now, I've handpicked the critic reviews that didn't in some way compare the movie to a rotting corpse, leaving me with 2 to choose from, so here are those. Okay, Megan Basham, writing for World, said The Mummy buries its... Oh, fuck. Berries. I guess we've got one then. The Mummy buries the clear moral themes that make superhero movies so popular. Making light out of darkness may curse this franchise. Note, not dark enough.
Discredited because of the pun.
A.O. Scott, writing for the New York Times, and I'm not sure I've quoted him before, but I'm actually very fond of him. It will be argued that this one was made not for the critics, but for the fans, which is no doubt true. Every con game is played with suckers in mind. But fans of what? Okay. The fans of Tom
Fans
Cruise.
of really formulaic, tone-deaf movies, I guess.
The fans of Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's right, exactly. That's right.
The Enchantress
Oh,
solo
imagine
movie.
Suicide Squad with Tom Cruise in it.
No.
There you go.
I refuse to imagine that.
Tom Cruise for Joker, thank you.
Public enthusiasm was less convincing than any Russell Crowe accent, even his own. Robert Blenheim, writing for Amazon UK, confesses, "Here's a true story. As the end credits of this smellaroo began to crawl up the screen, I actually stood up, faced the audience, and shouted out in anger, 'This is by far the biggest piece of expletive I have seen in a movie theatre in years.' No one dissented." I'm not sure you should take the awkward silence and possible sobbing of as tacit approval of your actions, Mr. Blenheim.
I'm not sure that actually happened.
Disputed.
I hope it
Disputed.
didn't.
He was actually pointing at his wife.
I mean, I did the same thing when I was watching this film. I went to each of my individual housemates and just screamed in their face. Went back to my room.
I often find the need to loudly declare my opinion on a cinematic experience when I see it.
That's why we podcast.
Yeah. So after seeing Last Jedi, I stood up and said, "This was a flawed but overall enjoyable movie," and no one dissented.
I did actually have somebody shout at the end of a film.
Yeah?
What was that? That's that science fiction movie about those. There was a party and aliens came down to suck people up. It was Skyline or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, Skyline with
Skyline?
Donald Faison from Scrubs.
Yes,
Oh my God.
yes. Turk was in it. Brilliant.
Yeah.
And when that finished, the guy just stood up and went, "Ah!"
The Messenger. Jesus? Yeah. Our Lord and Saviour, writing on Amazon, says, "I love cheese movies. I love cheese movies about mummies, so I was very excited about this movie, but I was disappointed. It's boring. You run that risk when you watch cheese movies, though. Paul, Bill and Sean, you gods and or monsters."
I feel like screaming. Is that helpful?
If it's done in a mummy-like way.
There you go.
Very good.
This is about the point that people switch off the podcast. But yeah, so sorry about that, guys.
What was the one thing about this cheese movie that made you want to forget the Egyptian prayer of resurrection?
Full disclosure, Josh was the individual, our third baby bearder who suggested this film. I've seen it in cinemas, and just as a quick little tangent, so my auntie is not the best at giving presents. She sees me maybe once every couple of years, and she
Aw.
always gives me something that I don't particularly want. So when The Mummy was
I'm already
presented,
sad about this.
I then looked at my DVD case and realised I had an unopened copy of 2017 Mummy that my auntie had given for me for Christmas. So this was the perfect opportunity to open it up and remember how awful...
How much you hate your fucking auntie.
You can say how awful your aunt's tastes are. It's a really good chance to really reflect.
How much I fucking hate that woman.
But yeah, it's just very strange to see Tom Cruise miscast in what should otherwise be a pretty simple film for him to pull off. He can do action, he just can't do adventure.
Has he ever played like a smarmy rake? Yes, he has. He's played it in A Few Good Men, but that was
Cocktail?
30 years ago now? Yeah, that kind of era of Cruise.
If we're talking about being miscast, I really don't think that Tom Cruise is the worst offender here.
No?
Yeah, fair enough.
Tom Cruise at least has some, base charm. There's just something.
Sir, I admit that Miss Halsey and I did spend a delightful evening in Baghdad, a very long and satisfying evening if her reactions are to be considered sincere. But, sir, I left with nothing more than fond memories. Now, perhaps I may have neglected to say goodbye to her the next morning, only because she was exhausted, and I didn't want to wake her. And the reward for my gracious consideration? Well, sir, as you can see, hell has no fury. Sir.
And I think that Annabelle, what's her name? Annabelle Wills?
Oh, what is the as Jenny?
Jenny!
Jenny?
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 Oh, lovable Jenny, and also the guy from The New Girl. I always forget his name, but the guy
Is
who
that the
played
ghost?
Bale, I thought.
Oh, he was dreadful. I really got nothing out of him.
The two of them were flatter than Tom Cruise's abs. Shall we get into the plot?
Yes, let's get the plot done.
We begin as any good film does, as seems to be the case when Baby Beard comes on board, which is solid narration.
Yeah.
We start in 1127 AD, Crusaders, something that seems to be straight out of a Monty Python film, which I couldn't get out of my head, these guys in their Crusader outfits. They bury a dagger. We get a lot of plot out the way. So the Crusaders...
Russell Crowe talks to a wall in an empty room.
Not yet. Because the structure of this is amazing. It's flashback to present into flashback.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's 1127 AD, followed by the present day where Russell Crowe, aka Dr. Jekyll, takes over what do you call it, like an excavation? He takes over an excavation, sees a bunch of hieroglyphics, and proceeds to give you the first of 5 times that the same story is told to many characters and you, the audience, which is the story of Amenet. So Amenet, who is a princess, heir to the throne in ancient Egypt, suddenly finds that her father, the pharaoh, conceives another child with another woman, which...
Hate that.
It's happened to all of us.
Who's a boy.
Yeah.
And as we know...
So he's gonna be Pharaoh. He's gonna be King Pharaoh.
He just can't wait to be
sexist,
king.
those ancient Egyptians.
So as we all do, now we've all done in the past, in our early 20s, we made a pact with Set, and if she sacrifices her family and she gets a willing subject, she can kill him and bring Set into physical form, and basically that essentially makes her a god.
Thanks, Russell.
The priests happen upon her, and they decide to mummify her. So that process.
Which is ironic considering the name of the film.
Yes. Sir, we have mummified the evil queen, and we've submerged her in mercury so that she'll never get out. Excellent. Did you attach that one rope that, if cut, will spring her out of the mercury like a fucking jack-in-the-box? Yes. Good.
Good.
I'm very glad you let me look at the plans before implementing them. Yes.
We did set it off a couple of times whilst installing it, and she did shoot out and give us a bit of a fright, but it's on there now.
We lost many men.
She kept trying to take people over with spiders. Oh yes, she'll do that. It's a good thing we're burying her.
Oh, classic. Anyway.
Classic Armanet.
They douse her in mercury, stick her in a hole, and then we go.
It's less romantic when you say it like that.
Also, I think it's very quickly worth noticing that it took 6.5 minutes for them to kill a baby on screen.
Yeah, get that out of the way nice and early.
Just, you know.
Lars von Trier would have halved that.
Yeah.
But we get to the important part of the film, their bread and butter, which is the charm of Tom Cruise. So we're introduced to Mr. Let me get his name, because names are apparently very important in this film. Mr. Nick Morton? Nick Morton.
Wow. What an iconic name. Like Indiana Jones or Nathan Drake.
That's right.
Nick.
God of Death. Nick.
Nick versus the Mummy.
Well, he was going to be Tyler Colt, which was also shit.
That's pretty good. I like Tyler Colt.
It's better than Nick.
It's not pretty good, is the thing. It's very like Action Man. My name is Gun Bastard.
We're introduced to Nick and Vale, our two heroes in what is currently Iraq. God. And they are soldiers of fortune. Nick is a sergeant. Nick's a sergeant.
Whatever.
And they have found Haram, which he has stolen from a woman, which we will later find he had a lovely one-night stand.
It's not a map to Haram from
No, it is just a note that says, Haram is here.
Yes, that's right.
Post it with the contact details on it.
In true gung-ho fashion, Tom Cruise... Well, I'm just going to call him Tom Cruise from now on.
Please do.
Tom Cruise and his buddy Vale, they decide to storm the keep and find this Haram there. Obviously, they're going to be pinned down by a lot of gunfire, witty banter ensues.
They drop a fucking airstrike on top of an Egyptian tomb, basically.
Thank God they did that. Oh, I thought we were in trouble there. Maybe a bit of peril. Nope. Thank God for the mechanized death machine that is the American army.
That's right.
You're very cavalier with death very quickly.
Yeah, it didn't need any verification or anything. Didn't need any verification. Just, I need an airstrike. Yep.
Yeah.
Send one literally within 30 seconds of you calling it in.
Fuck yeah, your tax dollars at work.
That's right.
I called one in and it was just a wrong number. I bombed Abracababra on Croydon High Street.
Who then next comes onto the scene is Jenny Halsey. As far as I can tell, has
Jenny!
no ties to the military.
No.
She's just an archaeologist.
She's an archaeologist. The US Army, the US Army will sometimes call in a sort of Amy Adams type in order to solve them with some of their weirder problems.
That's right.
What is it like? It's like Sergeant, Commanding Officer, General, Amy Adams type.
Jenny.
President.
Yes, that's right. That's the command structure. Ostensibly she is there to protect valuable artifacts from the Taliban destroying.
Yeah.
I just feel like the military wouldn't give a shit.
No, I don't think so either.
That's the difference between us and the Taliban, guys.
Hey, Mary Beard gives a shit, okay? And she's got a lot of swing with the US Army.
Yeah, so it turns out Mary Beard had a one-night stand with Tom Cruise. And, anyway, and Tom Cruise stole the map from her, but it doesn't matter because they've got this big old fucking Egyptian thing underground. So let's all go and inspect it before the bogies come back.
So he gets exactly what he wants, and they all jump into the tomb.
So Jenny, Nick, and Vale jump into the tomb. They explore the creepy mercury that is all around them. They find the tomb itself, and they are told that there are bogies inbound and that they have to get out straight away.
But it's not a tomb, is it? It's a prison.
It's a pause for effect. Prison.
Oh well, Tom Cruise just fucking looks at his gun and then shoots the cable that seems to be holding everything together. Like a monkey's trying to figure out a banana.
That's right.
So we get another flashback where Amanette gets introduced to Tom Cruise. They have a bit of a moment where she proclaims him to be the chosen. He moves his eyebrows up and down a good 10, 15 times to show...
He's having a vision.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have a
It's
vision.
his vision face. Yeah. We all have one.
His vision
my
face.
vision face is really embarrassing.
And then spiders. Just suddenly spiders.
10
Spiders.
spiders. Oh my god, hang on a minute here. Were there any spiders in Surf Ninjas? Because if so, then you boys have,
God, spider
you've got a
trifecta.
theme going on.
Let's say yes.
Were you producers from the 80s and 90s? Were you homophobic film producers from the 80s and 90s, guys?
Vale's been bitten by a spider. They all get onto the chopper. They take the 5,000-year-old artifact with them.
No one seems massively concerned that Vale seems to be going into some sort of shock.
Yes!
Spider-bite.
He's quite clearly dying in front of them.
They know he's been bitten, but it's fine.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Don't
Just
worry about
Vale being Vale.
Sweat it out.
He's the comic relief. Help me!
it.
Have a Lucasade. You'll be alright.
Nick is his best friend. And just does not notice him die.
That fucking guy. Joker.
Always pretending to
Always
go
not
pale
breathing.
and die.
Anyway, he starts scraping at the tomb with a knife, and that is cause for concern.
Yeah.
But the shit only really picks up when he does stab his commanding officer.
Anyway, the plane crashes and only Nick and Jenny survive. There you go, that's 5 minutes done.
Thanks. Great. Thanks for that. Cool. Yep. So Nick wakes up. He talks to a demon Vale, a zombie Vale.
Yeah.
This is when Vale becomes comic relief, truly.
Properly, yeah.
Properly.
Quote unquote.
Now he's dead.
Now he's dead. He can finally make us laugh.
The same thing will happen to Jim Davidson.
Trust me. Trust us.
And we go from that comedic scene, we cut to the church where the plane has crashed, and this is where the horror element comes in.
Oh,
we
good.
discover the mummy.
That's what I came for.
Search team discovers the mummy, and she proceeds to suck the life out of the entire search team.
Spooky.
So sucking occurs. We cut back to Jenny and Nick. They rehash the set story again.
Again, in the pub, yeah.
So we've been told 3 times.
But even Nick Morton isn't on board with it this time because he just goes for a piss.
Yes.
Fuck this.
In the ladies.
Yes, in the ladies.
Has a conversation with Vale. The curse gets mentioned again. So we're very on board with what the curse is and what...
Is he cursed?
There's a curse,
He's
alright.
very cursed.
Oh, okay, he's cursed. Cool.
Super cursed.
It might just be a head cold.
Shit.
Maybe give it a week.
And so Nick can't really handle this. So he goes out, takes a breather in a dark alley, as you do.
Yep.
And meets... Well, in England, it's all you've got. Meets Armanet for the first time, which is also either a flashback or a dream or a thing, or he just gets his mind erased, because then he ends up...
In Oxford. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right next to the Radcliffe camera, which is a really distinctive landmark to use once.
They end up at some creepy church.
Yes.
Basically, Armanet lures Nick to complete the ritual. And because she knows inextricably where the dagger is, as you do, surely. Yeah. She knows where the dagger of Set is, and you need, and we didn't mention this before, you need the dagger with the gem together to complete the ritual. So Armanet grabs the dagger. Oh no, there's no gem. We can't complete the ritual. And so,
no,
I hate it when she noticed that literally at the last minute. Yeah. She's got great eyesight and instincts.
Yeah. Imagine if she'd have just stabbed him and, the embarrassment.
Oh, shit. Whoops. Oh. Have to find a new chosen one. Right. Hey, Jenny.
Jenny, you'll do.
Jenny!
A rather entertaining fight scene occurs, actually.
Yeah. Getting his fist stuck in heads and kicking his way literally through the zombies. It's pretty good.
I then have a note, which comes up quite often, which is Nick is a dick, because Nick then attempts to escape almost without Jenny.
Yeah. I like the way they lampshade that as well. They go, hey, she goes, were you literally just gonna leave me here with this deadly supernatural mummy? And he's like, maybe. And at some point, this point in the movie, I'm like, are we still meant to sympathise with him?
Oh, it is worth, in my skipping over 5 minutes of this plot, I now have to drag us back there. One thing happened, which was that Nick did save Jenny's life. By giving her the only parachute.
So they're even now. So they steal an ambulance.
They steal an ambulance. They try to drive away. Armanet is in Nick's head, so he lures her back. They then drive away again. They crash, and Tom Cruise gets his big action jump out of a van moment, because that's contractually obligated to do so. Armanet shows up. Armanet quickly dispatches of Tom Cruise, but then the cavalry arrives, a bunch of random mystery men capture Armanet, take Jenny
harpoons.
Away. Yes, with long-range weapons.
State of the art.
Which, by the way, is another throwback to Surf Ninjas. We had harpoons in Surf Ninjas as well.
Shit!
Ooh. There must have been in one in Wild Wild West as well. It was steampunk, for fuck's sake.
There is a harpoon, and there is a steam... I'm sure there is. They use it to...
The train gets hit by a harpoon.
There you go.
There's a steampoon.
Steampoon.
That sounds very bad.
So all the men are captured and are taken to the heart of London, to the Avengers base. Sorry, I mean Dr. Jekyll's lair.
Does it have a fancy name? Mysterium or something?
The Mysterium of Dr. Crow.
Yeah.
This is where the franchise setting happens.
The Prodigium.
Yeah.
Prodigium.
We go through Benicio del Toro's collection of shared universe memorabilia.
/ Easter egg to
everything that'll be important in the
things.
sequels.
You can see Dr. Octopus's arms in the background.
So Nick Morton, our hero, is introduced to Russell Crowe, aka Dr. Jekyll, aka Gladiator. And there's more exposition brought up.
Yes.
I guess about the nature of the curse and the nature of why he's here and what they're trying to do. Yeah. Just pretty much setting up the Dark Universe.
Yeah. All they have to do is let her turn Nick into the god of death and then kill him, and then the evil's done.
No more death.
They win.
Yeah.
Nick's really happy about it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yep, of course.
Yes, of course, whilst he just fingers the parachute cord.
Okay, yeah, sounds great, guys. I just
So Tom Cruise is understandably, he's not on board with this plan. So he takes Dr. Jekyll, Russell Crowe's EpiPen, basically.
Yeah. His evil EpiPen,
which stops him from turning into Cockney Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Sorry, just the memory of the scene blows my mind.
With CGI
when he
face.
switches into Cockney, I lost any shred of respect for this film.
That's interesting because mine doubled.
It's not me that wants to kill you. It's Henry. I have something more collaborative in mind.
This was my favourite bit of the entire film.
I don't mind his character, but the Cockney just, oh my god.
I have to say though, what I thoroughly enjoy is I am 99% sure that Alan Kurtzman just said to Russell Crowe, "Can you just make a choice? I don't really care what it is, just make it different from Russell Crowe."
Cockneys are evil, right?
I'm afraid, Mr. Tom Cruise, that I must ask you to do this thing. You fucking slag!
So, at the same time as this is happening,
Arminette commands a spider,
and she uses that to
a mind control spider, to get into the ear of a
technician.
A technician. Thank you. That's the word I can't get my head around.
I wanted to say of Abed from Community, but it's because of the Winter Soldier thing where he's just playing some random fucking guy. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Abed just goes mental.
Yeah. Gets an axe.
Starts stabbing everyone.
He unlocks all the bits, and then he axes up some electronic bits.
Hyde gets dispatched. Nick and Jenny realize they need to get to the stone. Arminette thinks she needs to get to both the stone and Tom Cruise. Everyone goes on a massive race to,
I guess, going to say a magical journey.
A magical journey.
Which is true.
And
the film sort of remembers that Vale's there.
Yep.
He literally reappears in the middle of the street going, hey guys, I'm in the movie.
Remember him from an hour ago?
Yeah.
I'm in the movie, guys. Hello.
I don't know about you guys, but I missed Vale, so I was happy to see him.
Just all sorts of destruction happen. There's a big cloud with her face in it, and
London gets dusty.
Yeah.
They go into the sewers and they swim about a bit.
Jenny's dead.
Jenny drowns, basically, and that lures Tom Cruise to her. They all meet up in the Crusader burial site, and Tom Cruise has to make a decision.
Is he gonna smash the stone?
Or
is he gonna accept his fate and become Set himself?
Yeah.
And so the decision to do that is because the girl who he sort of has hung out with a bit, who doesn't really like him, is dead, and he'd rather her not be dead.
And he may or may not like as well, because also, other twist, it turned out that the reason he pulled the cord on her parachute on that plane sequence we skipped was because he thought there was another one.
Yeah.
So...
My second favourite scene in the film.
So, I guess they've always loved each other, so he kills himself.
So he kills himself, becomes the god of death.
As I told you, it's a magical journey.
He slurps up
has a bit of a snog with Arminette, so gains her power, I guess? I don't know.
Who knows?
So he does what any normal god would do, screams in Jenny's face, and that
wakes her up. Yeah. He does his creepy face, his literal creepy face.
Yeah.
And then he does his creepy...
He scares her awake.
That's right. And then he does his creepy stand in the corner in the shadows.
Because he's a monster now.
He is the first Avenger.
Damn it.
Is your face all messed up like Vanilla Sky? No. They've stopped de-aging
That's
these
right.
with CGI. I don't want you to see it. We've run out of money to do it.
And then Jenny and Russell have a nice conversation where they know that they're setting up a franchise.
Yes. So Nick has escaped off into wherever, Egypt, somewhere.
Yeah.
He brought Vale back to life, and so over this...
We know that because he says this.
Thanks for bringing me back to life, Nick. And that is not...
Back to life after I died tragically in a plane accident last year.
And then we stopped at Starbucks.
It sounds like we're mocking the dialogue, but that's pretty much exactly what he says.
Yes. And Russell Crowe and Jenny proceed to Dark Knight it.
Yes. Yeah. I was just about to say that.
He's the mummy we need, but not the one we deserved right now.
Yeah.
Like, it could not be more contrived, but the point is, they...
That's right.
The point is, Nick is the hero we deserve.
Will he be good, or will he be...
Mummy?
The mummy.
Wait, more of a pause. Need more of a pause. The Mummy.
Credits. And important to note, no post-credits scene.
No post-credits. They're not aping the Marvel.
Because that's
universe.
Marvel's domain. Yeah. And fuck Marvel, says Alex Kurtzman. I've got Transformers.
That's right.
And then it's just him patting himself on the back over the sound of the credits.
Oh god.
Job well
you know what?
done, guys.
Before we move on to anything else, I just want to say I don't relish saying this. This isn't something I've said about anyone else really, and I usually resist it when people say it about other people. Alex Kurtzman does have a very punchable face. I don't know if you've spent much time looking at it, but it keeps coming up when I look at this stuff.
Alright, let's get his face up and...
Yes, please do. Just
make this official.
There's something very self-satisfied about the man that just really... that isn't backed up in any way by any form of success.
Oh, fuck!
I feel quite similarly about Uwe Boll, sorry.
Yeah.
He's very smug.
You could try and punch that face. invite you to a special venue to do it.
Yeah, do you know what I feel like doing? Knocking his glasses off his face and then stomping on them.
Also, I apologize for this, but Alex Kurtzman kind of looks like Paul Goodman 40 years from now.
It really does. I'm sorry.
Well, I've been told that I look like a young Jeremy Corbyn, so whichever.
I thought you were going to say I've been told that I look like a young Alex Kurtzman.
Yeah. I've also been told Macaulay Culkin when I don't have a beard.
That's why he never not has a beard.
So it's a fucking shining journey ahead of me.
From Culkin to Kurtzman, the Paul Goodman story.
I am a huge fan of the Universal monsters and have been since I was a kid. And when Universal asked me if I'd be interested in doing The Mummy, I jumped at the chance. The challenge was figuring out a way to pay tribute to all of them, but also bring something new to the table.
Okay, I would like to split this conversation in two, and then have neither. So, we have two things to talk about here. And the first one is the 110-minute standalone blockbuster film that you just theoretically spent £15 or $20 seeing. How was this as an action movie? You brought the kids, you spent $60 on the fucking family ticket, and now you've eaten your popcorn and you're on your way out. How are you feeling?
Well, the kids are bored to tears.
Was this marketed as a family film?
No, it's just like a...
You're teenagers, well,
you
know. You brought the kids because you're a bad parent.
Yes, that's right.
You brought the kids as a punishment.
Look, I didn't mind it. I genuinely didn't mind it. I was not bored at any point throughout, because there are plenty of failed sort of comedic beats, and there's not very much chemistry between the main characters, and it's not a laugh riot rollicking adventure kind of romp, but it had enough just to keep me entertained, and I wasn't. There was no point during watching where I went, yeah, I'm ready for this to end now, or please end now, for God's sake.
By contrast, I think I felt like that almost all the way through. I found it very exasperating to watch. The question in my head the whole time was, why? Why are they making this? And obviously that is to make money, but that is not a good enough incentive. So I had a kind of a low level anger all the way through this film.
Simmering.
It's kind of seething. These poor VFX people working their butts off in service of this soulless film. That was my response.
Fair enough. I think for me, what I would say is that it's a film that I found to be just unimpressive, I think would be the thing. In as much as I can't think of anything that it does that's not done better elsewhere, except maybe the plane crash, which I did actually really like, and I can't think of another film where I've seen an actual zero gravity used in a fight sequence like that, with no wire.
That was shot in a falling plane, right?
It was shot in the Vomit Comet, and it's and it looked good. It looked really good. I'm very surprised it was only 2 shots. It was the shot of them getting the backpacks on and the shot of them sort of just struggling a bit. It was 2 shots. That's the whole thing. But I really liked the first one. It was pretty cool.
I was really impressed by that.
Can I make a note about that scene? There was a little bit of a internet laugh fest when the first trailer came out, because it featured that scene, but with none of the music or sound effects.
Yes.
Pan, this is November 4, 09er.
It's like people going off the escalator to nowhere, isn't it?
Yeah, she gets sucked out of the plane and she goes, ah! It's very embarrassing.
And they play the exact same Tom Cruise scream twice.
Very
strange.
Yes.
For myself, I had to be wary I just take note of two very important things when I was kind of prepping for this movie. In that you always talk about these franchise movies, especially when they're starting up. They're made by committee. You've got a bunch of producers in the room, and it's like, add this, do this, make sure this is set up, make sure you harken back to this. We want to have this done, and it's just a blancmange of shit and chaos. What that's doubled by is the fact that the writing team involved with this film, contextually you have to look at two things. Number one, the director, who is Alex Kurtzman. Number one is that this was his directorial debut as far as a big budget film is concerned.
Yes, there was one other film, but it was small.
And the other thing is, at this point, so he had started writing The Mummy in 2012, but that was when he was still in a partnership with Roberto Orci. By this point, his longtime collaborator, who he worked on Legend of Zorro, the first two Transformers film, Amazing Spider-Man 2, all fantastic films.
Yes.
And that was...
Just gloss over that quickly.
He lost his collaborator during the process of making The Mummy.
So he's even at half capacity.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's that fucking machine working with a cog missing.
Yeah, so he doesn't even have his writing partner anymore. So he's now flying blind in terms of what is his usual process. But also, you have 3 writers in charge of the story and 3 writers in charge of the screenplay. And they're all different.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And you've got Tom Cruise taking the reins and sort of turning it into a Tom Cruise action movie. So it's a lot of influences. But look, I will say I can't really take issue with any of the directions that it goes in. It makes sense to turn it into a sort of action adventure, and I guess to set it in modern days if that's the intention, and to make it a sort of comedic romp with horror elements. The problem is that none of it is particularly well realised.
And there's just all this stuff that they need to set up future films that doesn't service this film. And I think for me that's one of the things that drags this film back is this really obvious and ham-fisted setting up that it does. Where even as the intro comes up, we go, "Oh, dark universe."
Yeah,
and it's put the cart, like, the cart's already arrived.
The horse is dead.
Yeah.
And the horses haven't been born yet.
No, indeed. The Nerd Writer, a YouTuber I really like, he has posted a video today called The Problem with DC Action Scenes, and he lays out some things that are in a checklist, if you will, for what makes a decent action film. And I feel like that might be a useful thing to just have a quick look at. So the first one is 3 to 4 good set pieces. I would argue there are 2 in The Mummy. The plane crash and the ambulance. The protracted church/ambulance scene.
Yeah.
A non-horrible plot. It's not a very compelling plot, is the thing. If you compare it to the plot of, say, a Mission Impossible movie, which will be just a very tight sort of MacGuffin hunt a lot of the time, but it'll be a case of, let's build up to, we need to get this thing, the odds are against us, let's do it. Here it's very ambling. The characters often just fall into the next scene, or get captured and dragged to it.
Yeah, Nick Morton's response to most things is just, "Oh, huh, that's weird." Yeah.
Oh dear.
God, imagine that.
I'd rather not be cursed.
Tom Cruise's acting is just 10 different stages of bewilderment.
Yes.
Well, number 3, charismatic actors. Nope.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Listen, Nick, I think you should know something. You know I work with a group of archaeologists.
Yeah.
Well, we've developed this theory that an Egyptian princess had been erased from the history books. We've been searching for something called the Dagger of Set. Set is the Egyptian god of physical form with alleged jewels. I'm the Dagger of Set.
Even the Mummy herself, she's got a good look. I like her stare, and I like her sort of formidable strength that she looks like she has, but there's nothing afforded to her to do, and consequently she's not really a interesting presence.
It's better than Cara Delevingne.
See, that's interesting. I'm kind of on the opposite side of the spectrum in terms of her character. One of the most compelling parts of this film for me that gets me on board is
Armanet.
Sophia Boutella, who's the actor.
Right.
To me, because she doesn't have a hell of a lot to do.
Yes, that's the
times
main
that
problem.
she does get on screen, she has to command the screen. And for myself, like, I'll talk about the moment later on, but just everything is kind of imbued in her looks, and she has to do a lot with just her expression, and the whole adage for an actor, less is more, that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like, she kind of encompasses that. And she does have to, amp it up and turn it on because the stakes require that.
What's the fourth thing on the list?
It was a few laughs.
No.
Right.
I laughed.
No.
I laughed when he said, I thought there was another parachute.
I think I laughed a couple of times, which we'll get to when we quickfire, but
Yeah, I think there was a couple of
okay.
little ones, yeah.
I will say there were more that failed than worked.
All I would want to say quickly is, because a lot of my gripes with the film comes with Tom Cruise, who would you cast in Tom Cruise's place? Because Phil and I were having a conversation about it, and because you need a charismatic adventure style lead.
I went with Chris Pratt.
Shia LaBeouf.
Ben Whishaw.
I went with Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, I
Just
He's a bit busy at the moment.
Yeah, that's right. Busy being competent, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would work. Or just, I said Ben Whishaw, I'd actually quite like someone kind of foppish in English to sort of, imagine that dynamic if it was just a sort of crusty old English academic who comes to the country to research, falls in with a sort of soldier type, and the mummy thing happens, and it turns out, hey, Ben Whishaw, you're, with your slight frame and your tweed, you're the god of death, and you can't ever die. Oh, gosh.
Have Tom Cruise as the comedy relief sidekick.
Oh,
great, it'd be perfect.
Yeah, who dies and comes back as a ghost.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm the peak of physical fitness, and I got bloody blown up by a plane. Meanwhile, Shrimpy here gets to live forever.
There's a sort of a rugged action starness that Tom Cruise brings, that the physicality that he brings to films that I do really enjoy. And I think to bring someone else in, you'd probably have to make it a different sort of film, which isn't necessarily.
Well, that's why I went
with
Chris Pratt, because I think Chris Pratt has he's got there with the physical ruggedness.
Yeah, he kind of embodies that roguish charm as well.
Yeah, and he started off with the charm, and then he got his action chops, and now I think he's kind of got the both together. So
here's the thing that keeps me being a Tom Cruise fan, because most of the time he does play a sort of self-satisfied, quiet type. But what makes that work for me is the fact that he's willing to, on camera, show his character put through tremendous physical pain. He's almost, in Jackie Chan style, he's willing to lose a fight, get the shit kicked out of him, really hurt himself. And, look at Edge of Tomorrow, where he just embarrassingly dies over and over again, sometimes just sort of awkwardly yelping. He doesn't mind putting his fist through a zombie's face when he needs to.
He is one of my favourite action stars.
I do think that's fair, but he's an action star and not a good actor anymore. He used to be. He really used to be. But now he is a movie star.
I still think in the right film, he could do something amazing.
I think they should have actually customized this script more to be Tom Cruise. Make him an older guy. No reason not to.
Tom Cruise might have taken issue with being called an older guy.
Does he not just embrace it? He's, what, is he 55?
He's 55, close to, yeah.
If I were in that shape at Tom Cruise's age, then I just boast about it constantly. It'd be insufferable.
If I was in that shape now, if I was in his shape at 56 now, I would never stop crying with joy.
Should we talk about the DU then? The DU.
Yes, okay.
The DU.
Then we have the Universal Dark Universe, which seems to be all but dead now. The way I think of it, it kind of reminds me of like that project at work that you forgot you were in charge of. Hey, are we still doing the Dark Universe thing? Fuck, I haven't... Oh, shit. I don't think I've thought about that since Christmas.
No one asked.
Fuck.
I think it's more like, it's more like, hey, are we still doing the Dark Universe thing? We don't talk about that anymore.
Dark Universe?
No,
Dark
but
Universe,
that's the thing, though, is that things like this, they don't just die. It's not like, well, that didn't fucking work. It's still like, oh, yeah, Bride of Frankenstein 2019. It's like, is it, though? Are you actually doing anything about it? Yeah, we'll do something.
It could go one of three ways is the thing. They either do what DC did, and they just ignore all criticism and say, no, it's the fans who are wrong. And
it's the people who watch the movies.
Yeah, it could be cancelled and just swept under the rug. Or they could say, okay, why didn't this work? It took Marvel... We have to talk about Marvel in extended universes. It took them 10 years to get to Infinity War. What was it, 5-6 years and 8 movies to get to
5
Avengers?
years to 2008 to 2012.
Yeah. So It took multiple movies. The first Iron Man, they only really mentioned the Avengers Initiative for about 2 minutes of the movie.
It's the very end.
At the very end, yeah. Credits.
And it didn't start off with the Avengers Assemble initiative, Phase 1, Iron Man. You know,
it didn't have an Avengers logo right at the top.
I think the audience gets wary of that. They get annoyed. They don't like the idea of being sold part 1 of something. Like, did you know, for example, that King Arthur, the Guy Ritchie thing, was meant to be the start of a King Arthur cinematic universe with 6 films planned afterwards?
I did not know that.
Now, that just annoys me.
Yeah.
Like a Friar fucking Tuck movie? No, go away. This is ridiculous.
It really should go the other way around, right? So it should be, they should make the movies they want to make, and the audience go, hey, we want to see more of this, and we're going to tell you by watching the crap out of it and buying all of the DVDs and streaming it. And then the studio should go, hey, people want more of this. Let's make more of what they like.
Yeah. Do you know that there's one other company that is doing it potentially right, which is the universe they're attempting to set up with Godzilla and King Kong.
That's interesting, yeah.
Those 2 films are standalone.
Yes, they are. You wouldn't guess that they were related. Godzilla Skull... sorry, what was the first? It was just Godzilla, wasn't it? Godzilla 2014.
Godzilla Skull Island.
Godzilla Skull Island.
And Kongzilla.
And Kongzilla, that's the one. So I've got to say that unlike King Arthur, the idea of bringing the Universal monster movies back and having a shared universe of them, it's not inherently a bad one for me. But it does feel like a bad one to make them Marvel-style action movies, because the problem is...
Yes.
I'm a big fan of the classic Universal horror movies. And I also really love the Hammer horror remakes of them that happened in the 50s and 60s. The crowd of, like me, the horror crowd, the people who... Hello, I'm the crowd. The thing is, we're going to be put off by the idea of, you know, our subtle, slow burn horror films that were built on atmosphere and creepiness and strong performances in the villain roles. We're just going to be put off by big, you know, Marvel-style clouds of dust and an ugly sort of green and brown color palette that, you know, reeks of modern military movies. So you're turning us off. Meanwhile, the people who like Transformers movies probably don't care that much about the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of cancelling each other out here, the intentions. It's melding 2 things. And if anything, this makes sense for The Mummy. Because The Mummy does lend itself to being an Indiana Jones-style action-adventure, as well as a creepy horror film. What are you going to do exactly when you get to Frankenstein? Because there have been 2 attempts to turn Frankenstein into an action movie in the past 10 years, and both flopped. I say make these movies horror films. There are problems with that, because these monsters, they all were enduring and powerful because they perfectly reflected, like all movie monsters do, they perfectly reflected an anxiety of their time. You know, vampires were all about, hey, stuffy Victorian men, what if a really sexy foreigner came and took your bird? Wouldn't that suck? And that was an anxiety we had, you know, for ages. And it's interesting that vampires still represent sort of the fear of lust and primal instinct, and they've kind of survived in that way, even into things like Twilight. That sort of allegory continues. What else have you got? You've got Frankenstein, whose function as representing mankind's fears about its own creation and its own ambition have been completely superseded by AI. So, you know, that's where we put our Frankenstein stories now. It's stories of artificial intelligence. Ex Machina is a great Frankenstein movie. Then The Mummy, and The Mummy wasn't based on a work of classic literature, unlike a lot of these. It was based on the opening of Tutankhamun's tomb in 1922 and the supposed curse of of Tutankhamun.
Yes.
A lot of it's kind of racist now because it's steeped in ignorance of the culture and Orientalism, which was this Victorian obsession with the East and the idea of, you know, hey, don't go and steal their shit because those people might put a curse on you.
I guess, if you were to bring it to a primal fear, you would say it's a fear of what we've yet to understand of the cultural gap between what we know and what is exotic, because it's so foreign to us we cannot grasp its power, I guess.
I think that's exactly what it was, and I feel like that's a fear. I can't think of a modern analogy for that. And if someone tried to make that movie, like Eli Roth made that Green Inferno film that was kind of similar to that anxiety, and that was widely panned. I don't know if you can make a movie about, hey, foreigners are a bit creepy, aren't they?
Could it be about greed, or could it be about
hubris? Yeah, it's about hubris, right?
Self-interest, or I don't know,
disturbing things that should not be disturbed for your own gain. So maybe it could be like more of a like a bio horror, a body horror kind of thing, where you unlock the secrets, but the consequences of that are beyond your ken.
Yeah, sure. So it's like, hey guys, let's go discover this mummy. It's going to be the best find ever, and it's all going to be ours. We're glory hunters, and we're gonna get our name in the Royal Academy. Fuck yeah. And then, oh shit, we're all being systematically killed one by one in very spooky horror set pieces by a awful zombie style thing that has powers that haven't been attributed to the mummy before.
That might be a way to develop the franchise. And you take something like the Marvel universe, and whereas the way that they're building up those films is to collect a group of heroes, and that's the main thrust. It's not so much the villains, it's how do we get all these heroes together, where there's something really enticing to me about the idea of, you set up these films, if you take the straight horror route, you set up it, the world is getting worse. It's not about the heroes, it's about the darkness that's accumulating. So all these monsters and, Frankenstein and Dracula and all these people, through the horror genre, you set up this sense of dread, of foreboding that's just getting progressively worse and worse, until finally, when you get this collaborative film together, it's, oh shit, we are way in over our head and we had absolutely no idea how bad.
There's an argument I've sort of heard floated in the past, is that the desire for these kind of movies comes from the kind of global geopolitical situation, right? So the reason, one of the reasons Marvel is so successful with their universe at the moment is that people feel the need for these very black and white, virtuous heroes, right? Where might is right and evil can be defeated by just by being forthright and teaming up. And that light in the darkness is really appealing to people. Whereas when everything already feels like it is flushing rapidly down the toilet, people don't really want a dark universe made of villains to remind them that the world is getting worse.
They are also bad films, though.
Yeah, that's true.
Films, I think they'd be well reviewed.
I think so.
And I think you don't want to blame it too much on postmodern interpretations of it, or the geopolitical spectrum. If it's because it needs to be a good film first.
Let's quickfire some things that we liked. Quickfire. There was one moment where I appreciated Russell Crowe's accent, and it was, I think, just before it really sank in what it was going to be like. It was his first line when they bust into the subway, which is a total cliche, by the way, the sort of, we'll take it from here, scene. I hate that, really. But he comes down.
Yeah. Bake him away, toys.
Yeah. He comes in, and he says very calmly and assuredly to one of his subordinates,
Clear them out, please.
And in that moment, the accent isn't ridiculous yet. It's the second line where it all falls apart, but he nails that first one.
I mean, just going on from that, I really appreciated his Cockney, Eddie-eyed, fucking treacle.
I'm offering you a partnership. You, evil incarnate, me, your good friend Eddie Hyde. Think about it.
He was really good, and there was just a very slight change in the way he held himself when he was Eddie-eyed, and he just immediately looked like somebody that you couldn't beat in a fight.
He does look imposing. I really expected that they were going to turn him into like a
CGI monster.
CGI monster, and they don't, and I appreciate it.
And I'm so glad. Glad
they didn't Van Helsing it.
Yeah, I was just thinking of Van Helsing.
But he was a diamond geezer in this, and I appreciated that.
He was.
So my first quick fire is going to be the fight scene in the church. For me, that's kind of like a really, it's the first big burst of action, but also you've already established a bit of the comedic fight scene where Nick Morton is constantly having to deal with the fact that all his punches and kicks are going straight through all the zombies, and I just find that
it's inventive, isn't it?
It's inventive, and it's funny how he kind of has to deal with, okay, I need to kind of change up my fighting style a little bit. And it's, I had a lot of fun with that.
There's one moment in the fight where he just fucking shoulder barges the mummy to the floor, and it's really great. It's a great whomp sound, and Looks like something Michael Shannon would do.
He almost does a full-on Tom Cruise lean-in, sort of throwing himself at the guy he's fighting.
Yes.
Yeah. So for me, my first one is the moment when they're first back in the pub after Tom Cruise has been inexplicably discharged from the morgue, and he's doing shots. And Jenny asks, "So, isn't it a bit weird that you're A, not dead, and B, not even injured?" And he does about 20 shrugs in about 5 seconds.
Yes, whilst holding out both drinks, like in front of him.
There's something about that moment. I don't know if it's quality acting, but it really tickled me, and I liked it.
They got him to do 3 takes of that, and he did the same thing every time.
Yeah, well, it's staying in then.
I'll just have to use it. The moment in which, what was the friend called? The unfunny friend, Vale. When he's stabbing people, having become possessed, it's pretty upsetting. Because he just kind of leans into people. There's no passion to it. He just kind of moves his arm in, and then when he goes to stab Jenny, he kind of just walks at her with the knife outstretched. You know, and he's just kind of
There's no force.
Let me put this in your neck.
No, very Ex Machina, isn't it?
Yes, it's very
detached way the blade
smooth.
into people's bodies like butter.
Oh, and just as an extension, so I don't have to come back to this sequence, I also found it quite amusing the way in which Tom Cruise shot him to death.
With his like gun by his ear.
Yes, sort of gangster style, sort of just up by his head. The accidental third shot made me laugh.
Yeah. More about Tom Cruise. He's so good at takedowns. Takedowns and gun grabs. He does a couple in this film. The first one when he gets the gun off the soldier on the plane. You know, it's very Ethan Hunt. Right. He goes up to him and there's a very quick exchange of hands, and suddenly Tom Cruise has the gun.
And his pants.
Just reminds you how great an action star Tom Cruise is.
That's all you are clinging on to this episode, isn't it?
Yep.
There's a moment where Tom Cruise reminds us that he can play emotion as well. It's one of my favorite parts because it almost got me in the heart. It's where he's just accepted Set into his body, and he's by Jenny, and he's trying to figure out what to do with her, and he just he's stuck, and his body's stuck, and he just delivers the line, "I don't know what I'm doing," and it's utterly genuine, and it's just you can just feel the exasperation, and he just has no idea, and he kind of just that's all we can get out, and it's just a moment where I thought that was some genuine acting from Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I like the zombie minions. I like how they move, and I like how they're reanimated, and they sort of they twist and snap back to animation. There's something really kind of creepy and visceral about that, and the way they stagger inexorably towards our protagonists is creepy too.
Yeah.
I like how they're realised.
Yeah. I liked the idea of the bit where he travels through the bus that slid towards him, because the window's been smashed out, so he sort of rolls into it. But it was pretty awkwardly edited. It could have, been clearer what happened. And then, annoyingly, they put like a supposed audience surrogate in by having Wade, what's his name, Vale, show up in order to say, "Whew, that was intense." And it's like, no, it wasn't.
It's not intense just because you said it was.
The general train to Busan like speed with which the zombies sometimes moved, I thought, when they were trying to get through the ambulance window, they were just a bit too fast, and it was fucking freaky.
Oh, that zombie that hits the side of the ambulance when they're just about to drive off was the one jump scare that got me.
Nice.
Bravo, Alex Kurtzman. So for myself, I've already talked about that I particularly liked Arminette's performance. In particular, there's a moment when she's in the Prodigium and she's chained up, and Russell Crowe's got the big conversation about, we're keeping her captive, we're going to dissect her and find out about her. And just as they're leaving, the shot gets a close-up on Arminette's face, and there's just this look that just straight up reads, "The second I'm getting out of here, I am fucking up every single one of you. And I'm going to enjoy it, and it will happen."
I like that bit where the pilot gets a crow to the face.
Yes, after Birdemic, it was quite good to have some more frightening birds in this one and more convincing sort of bird attacks.
What a way to go.
What a way to go, yeah. Like a
to the
crow literally embedded in your skull.
Full on Fabio. Sophia Botella did this really cool thing where she was first like getting resurrected, and she was in the sort of swamp under Britain, I guess, and she's sort of just clambering to her feet and struggling and sort of shifting about the place, and the combination between sort of body acting and the sort of special effects looked really good.
Oh, the way she sort of stalks on all fours.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. And sort of. I also really liked the first appearance of Set at the very beginning of the film when she's doing the incarnation, and all the creepy birds come to life, and then this sort of Tarman style figure sort of shuffles onto the fucking set. Tarman from Return of the Living Dead. That was quite creepy. Kind of Guillermo del Toro style.
There's when Arminette is escaping and she does this horrible backwards, upside down, like crab climb up the chain that's holding her. It looks fucking disgusting. There's something really freaky about it. It's very good.
I appreciated the new take on the zombies chasing our heroes trope, which was done completely underwater.
Yeah,
that was terrifying because they're fucking quick.
Yeah, I like that bit a lot.
Yeah.
I was going to quickfire that bit as well. It is a really... There's a slow-mo tension, like a slow-mo chase.
Because from memory, there's very little soundtrack underneath it. And it's just like, Tom Cruise is swimming away. They're very close behind and they're very quick. And that's where tension is built up in that film. And it's done quite effectively.
I guess so. So my last one is kind of an overall thingy. So I kind of like the sets and the design. I think the kind of post-production color grading, everything is orangey, bluey, grey. It lets the whole thing down. But I think the Prodigium itself is a really cool set. Like apart from nothing else about the movie excites me to see more things set there apart from the set itself. I think it's a cool. I wish sort of more. It was more of a hub for the film, like get there earlier and see what the place has to offer. Does it have labs and libraries and stuff like that? I kind of wanted to know more about the Prodigium. It seemed like a really kind of cool place to set a film.
Okay, I quite liked the sort of creepy. The scene where they managed to get Tom Cruise on a table, the zombies, and she sort of comes to like say creepy stuff to him, which the version I watched didn't have subtitles, so I didn't know what was being said until I rewatched a clip on YouTube later. But it's kind of gross, like unpleasant things are happening, and like she's kind of, I don't know, getting the size of him and sort of measuring him up, and yeah, it was a good old-fashioned bit of spookiness, which I quite liked.
Cool. Okay, the last one I'll do is just a really cool bit of sort of comedy, or action comedy that actually worked. There was a bit where Vale was trying to barge a door open, and then Tom Cruise shows up and barges him and the door.
Yes. Just very quickly, it's just a bit of absurdity that when I looked at it, I was going, what the fuck? Why? But because of the movie as a whole, I do find it hilarious, which is the spider has gone into the man's ear, and so he's being controlled by Arminette, and he proceeds to go up and he grabs an axe from a case. And another one of the workers looks at him, sees this occur, doesn't think to do anything about it. Just kind
of normal. That's Steve always grabbing the axe.
Axie Steve.
I like this idea that when the guy goes over and destroys the equipment with the axe, the second guy goes, "Oh yeah, I probably should have done something about that."
It's probably nothing.
Oh, that situation's getting a bit strong. I'm going to fill in a report. I'm going to email HR. This is really stressing me out.
The effects aren't bad. They're okay.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll date. They're all right.
No, they're serviceable.
They're good. Yeah, they do. They don't. You don't constantly. You're not thinking about the effects all the time. You're not like, oh, there's an effect. It just. It's well realized enough that it sticks together. Yeah.
I think so. Until the big sort of CGI destruction of London at the end, I think that's pretty much correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the last good thing is really the thing that they knew to lead with, because it was all over the marketing. It was everywhere, and it was that they did manage to... And I remember, actually, first seeing this trailer in cinemas and thinking, ooh, Well, that's good. And that is the plane sequence.
Yeah.
Where they're on the plane and it gets hit by birds and they start to crash and gravity goes nonsense. First of all, becoming free fall and then turning into a sort of Inception-style spin. And yeah, it's just really good. It's good physical acting on behalf of the performers, mostly not stunt doubles. There's some real peril there and some good fret, and it's a pretty scary situation to be in. And yeah, it's just a pretty decent sequence.
Agreed.
Concur.
Good filmmaking right there.
Thank you, Alex Kurtzman. Well, Tom Cruise, really, if we're being honest. Paul, how about that OG team?
The OG team. Launching the pilot said, I kind of like The Mummy, not the greatest of time, but I thought it was okay. Plus, Tom always gives 100% even when doing the press tour.
He drop-kicked so many people during that press tour.
He doesn't use the stunt double during interviews. It's really admirable.
Yeah.
Paul was on fire.
The way he just snatches the microphone off of aggressive reporters is fantastic. Years of training. Beyond the Box Set said Russell Crowe's phenomenal accent work and general scenery munching. He did a lot of things to that scenery, many of which didn't make the cut, but it's a 12 rating, so, you know. TV in Space said, I actually just liked the movie. I thought it was a fun romp. I liked the way they visualised the titular mummy. Thought the storyline was fun, though felt Hyde was a little shoehorned, but the idea of a wider group of monsters interested me. I really don't get the hate for it.
I guess it's okay.
I'm surprised at hate.
I guess for me, I lumped it together with Pirates of the Caribbean 5 as the worst film of 2017. And I saw those quite close together as well, so I stopped going to the cinema for a month or two after.
Damaged.
Just so jaded.
It was a bad month. I can understand how the cynicism would make people angry.
Okay, Ryan at 27 Backspace said the trailer they accidentally uploaded that didn't have musical sound effects is both very funny and makes you appreciate how important those things are in a film.
Yeah, sure.
Lesson learned. Finally, Smash Traves says Tom Cruise is the best thing about everything, so it stands to reason. The isolated yell from that trailer is my text message alert sound. and I think I will add it into the final cut here, but I think it's the one that sounds like Tidus from Final Fantasy X. And thanks, OGT!
Thanks, team. Awesome. Okay, let's do our one better things. The one better thing. Rather short-sightedly, I already did Penny Dreadful for Dorian Gray, which is a shame because that really does do perfectly what this is trying to do. As did Alan Moore's League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but not whoever that director was, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. But how about this? Scott Mendelsohn, the film critic, described this thing as the first successful post-Marvel cinematic universe. What is it?
Oh. Well, I would have said the Godzilla King Kong franchise, but
no,
that's all I got for you.
It is in fact the Conjuring universe.
Oh, of course, with Annabelle.
Yeah, so you've got The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2, Annabelle, and Annabelle Creation, and soon the upcoming The Nun film. So it's a sort of network of cross-related horror films, and what they keep doing is they'll release a Conjuring film that has at least 2 spooky ghosts in it, and then they'll do a spin-off with those ghosts sort of in a different situation, and they are really good so far, is the thing. I mean, Annabelle, the first one, was the sort of Incredible Hulk of this one. It was yeah, not very good. But they're, by and large, pretty solidly entertaining. Maybe not incredibly exciting or transgressive in the ways that, you know, some horror movies have been lately. But it's nice to have, considering I grew up in a real drought for sort of mainstream horror. You know, obviously still good stuff happening in the indie scene, but mainstream horror was the Hostel movies, the Saw movies. It was torture porn or Michael Bay-funded remakes of classic slasher films. That was all I grew up with. So it's really nice to have a sort of consistent source of good scares, you know, in the form of these movies and the Blumhouse stuff. So, yeah. And I think they're, cut above the rest.
I decided to go down the action comedy adventure with a hint of romance. Bit of a blunt.
Romancing the Stone.
And there's a stone
that
as
is
well.
correct.
There's a stone in there too.
That's right, with a magical stone and some
the Prince and the Pebble.
Some leads who initially don't like each other but have a growing bond throughout the film. 1984's and Robert Zemeckis' Romancing the Stone, a silly but fun action romp.
Shit, sorry about that. I didn't mean to spoil it. I was joking about when I yelled.
No, seriously, Romancing the Stone is my pick. For a better film.
Excellent, that's really cool.
So I wanted to keep a few of our core crew. So I'm going to take Tom Cruise away from The Mummy, and he's going to be taking his frequent collaborator, Christopher McQuarrie, with him. And they're going to, together, direct and write and create Mission Impossible Rogue Nation. This, to me, is... So if you just want an action film that includes Tom Cruise in a role that he's built for, that he's made for, and you take a writer that's kind of competent and actually knows how to craft these kind of films. Rogue Nation, for me, I saw Ghost Protocol, which was Mission Impossible 4, in the cinema, and that brought me back to the franchise, because it was a serviceable film that was exciting and engaging, and the action set pieces were... kept me interested, and so Rogue Nation actually follows in that vein, and you've got a really likable action star in Tom Cruise who, I mean, look, the man's still giving it his all, but there's not this weird kind of faux charm to him. He just he's very relaxed in the role, and he's helped along by all his co-stars, and I'm always particularly fond of whenever Ving Rhames hits my screen these days. So I would get people to come and watch this as well, because Fallout comes out in a couple of months. Mission Impossible 6, which will either do really well, or, I mean, and so far the trailer looks fantastic, so...
all trailers look good.
The Mummy trailer.
They put the sound in, and the special effects. So, no one said it, but the obvious one is the 1999 Mummy starring Brendan Fraser, because it works a lot better on pretty much every level, other than special effects, maybe? Sometimes?
Some of it doesn't quite hold up.
But other than that, the comedy, the characters, the tone, the suspense, the chills are about on an even par, but it's more coherent and enjoyable by far.
That was the one better thing. The one better thing. Baby Bearders, where can people get more Baby Beards?
Yep, so if you want to... check out our stuff. We are obviously on iTunes under Baby Beard Media, or our two shows if you want to look them up specifically. Shut Up and Take My Podcast and Imaginauts. We can also be found
on Spreaker and Stitcher, and just any good podcatcher will probably have our podcasts up. So just look for Baby Beard Media and you'll find us.
I was also going to say, Paul, do you guys mind if we spruik a little project that we have going at the moment?
No, go ahead.
So basically, Phil and myself, we're also actors, and currently, this ties in quite nicely. We're involved in a horror project of our own. So at the moment, we're running an Indiegogo campaign to fund an Adelaide horror film called The Groves, which is
set in the lovely, creepy mangroves that we have down by the coast here.
Yeah.
It's a great setting for a horror film.
Yeah, it's done by a company called Freeze Frame, who believes that Adelaide is a great backdrop for a lot of films, and it's kind of an untapped market in that sense. So I don't know if it's worth it all. I'm giving you guys the link, but any potential help or support, obviously, it's, money's tight all round these days, but any sort of support is always appreciated, and we would love to try and get this made.
Check out the Indiegogo page for The Groves.
We'll pop that in the show description for you, so anyone who's listening and interested can check that out.
And thank you very much, Paul Salt, who contributed within 5 minutes of me shamelessly plugging into him. So, honestly, super appreciated, man.
Thank you.
It's just burning a hole in my account. No worries. I expect the executive producer credit.
And you've got it.
Love it. Now I'm a sleazy Hollywood producer.
Oh, yeah, watch out.
Where are those spiders?
It's Paul's turn.
Yeah. Oh, God. Paul, how can people find out about the OGT?
Well, we are not obviously on iTunes, very sneakily on iTunes ourselves, but you can find us there. If you look hard enough, the password is one good thing. If you want to get in touch, you can do that through Twitter, Facebook, Gmail. It's all there. You know what it is. OGT Pod. What more do you want? Go on.
I'm going to need you to improve your fucking attitude, sir. You tell those people. I want you to sell this thing. Twitter, Jesus, yes!
Oh! Rate us! Everyone, rate us! Right now! Leave a review! Do it!
I like to think that we sold it in the last hour.
Yeah, that's right. 2 hours of recording.
This is just rubbing it in at this stage.
They got what they paid for. They know what this is.
This is going to be reflected in your performance review.
Oh, another one.
Yes, they're bi-minutely.
This is hell. Help me, everyone.
Okay. I'm Paul Sold.
I'm Paul Goodman.
I'm Sean.
I'm Phil.
And remember, the one good thing about The Mummy 2017, starring and directed by Tom Cruise, is when Hollywood superstar Tom Cruise and an actress of some sorts were hurtling towards the ground at a terrifying speed, turning all the gravity to nonsense.
Jenny!